Hey everybody, my name is Dane Fredrickson. I am CEO of Digital Accomplice, a video creation company in Oakland, California, and I'm joined today by Christopher Penn, who is co-founder and chief data scientist of Trust Insights. So, Christopher, what else do we need to know about you and what you're up to these days?
Most of my focus these days is on artificial intelligence. I've been working in the field since 2013, back in the days when it was called machine learning, or what we now call classical AI. And obviously, ever since November 2022, when ChatGPT came out, suddenly everyone's an AI expert. But, a lot of us have been in this space for quite some time.
So, what is your take on what we're supposed to call GEO, AEO? What are we doing calling this thing?
It depends on who you ask, and there's what GEO, GAIO, AEO, AIO, A. Do we do AEO, GAEO? I've seen XEO. Um, you know, think a lot of the industry has standardized on GEO. That was one of the first terms that came out from a paper in Princeton in 2023. So it's probably the oldest of the terms, and it's probably the one that folks recognize the most. But honestly, everyone and their cousins got a different name for it because everyone's trying to sort of find a place to hang their hat as something that they can own, and the landscape there has gotten more complex than ever.
But you didn't answer my question. What's your go-to? What are you calling
We
it?
use GEO because it's probably the oldest of the terms.
Yeah, okay. So, in the world of GEO, with me as a video expert, I'm on this mission to try and figure out definitively, like for the non-technical people, people in leadership positions, what do they need to know about video and how that can intersect with GEO so they can make good decisions about investment and prioritization. Like high level, what do you think that means for them right now?
So a few things. First, a paper came out or study came out in January of this year by Spark Toro and Gumshoe, I believe it was, that showcased, among other things, that the ability for AI models to recommend brands in the same order is basically zero. They're entirely probabilistic tools. At SEO Week this week, this past Monday and Tuesday, Garrett Sussman did a great piece showing how Google, which is still 93 to 95% of all search, and is now like 100% AI search thanks to AI overviews and AI mode, Google is heavily influenced as they increase personalization by the rest of your Google account. So if you have personalization for AI for search turned on with AI overviews and with AI mode, it starts pulling from things like your Gmail, your calendar, your Google Photos, your YouTube views, etc. And that influences what shows up in your search results. So this has an important meaning for a lot of people. It means this: you cannot predict what brands are going to get recommended. Period. End of story. Anyone who is selling you software saying, we can tell you what your AI visibility is, zero. They have zero insight now because the way language models work is when you Google something now, Google said this in summer of 24. Google does the Googling, and the more personalization data it brings in, the more distortion is in that. So in Garrett's talk, he was showing how he set up synthetic Gmail accounts, like 5 or 6 fake people, and gave them different YouTube subscriptions, gave them different Gmail subscriptions and things like that. And the brands that Google recommended varied from account to account based on the personalization in there. So anyone saying, we know what your AI visibility is, just lying. I mean, there's just no polite way of saying it. They're lying. And if you were spending money, like if you're spending money on enterprise AI visibility software, cancel the subscription. Save yourself the $5,000 or $10,000. It's worthless because of that level of personalization. Now, if you are a video producer or in the video industry, the single biggest thing you should be doing right now is loading up your YouTube account as much as you can, as often as you can, with rich data, video, with it could be any quality video, with audio, with closed captions, with solid descriptions, with tags. And then in your YouTube channel settings, if you go to settings, channel, advanced settings, scroll all the way to the bottom, There's a little saying that says, allow third-party models to train on my channel. You want to say yes. It's like I remember the scene from Ghostbusters, Ray, the next time someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. In this case, next time someone asks if they can train on your channel, you say yes. And you allow companies that build AI models to train on your YouTube data. If you are not, this is what I tell people, the cadence at which you should be loading video to your YouTube channel, if you can, is daily. That's how much video you should be creating.
So what does this mean for like a typical B2B brand? Maybe not enterprise as much or small startups, but like, I don't know, 50 to 200 employees, just sort of like middle of the road B2B company. What should their video strategy look like right now for GEO?
Be publishing daily. that's that's the answer.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. In terms of people like, oh my God, what do? I don't know how to create that much video. Like that seems, impossible. No, it's not. Here's how you do it. You go to your inbox. You go to your customer service line. You go to wherever it is people ask you questions. You extract out the hundreds of questions that you inevitably get. Hold a webinar. Look at your webinar archives. Look at all the questions you didn't get to in your webinar. You put this all in a big ass Google Doc. And then you get out your phone or your camera or whatever that you've got. Clap on, stick on your lavalier mic, or if you want to be a youngster, hold it in your hand, which is exactly the way it was not designed. And then you answer those questions. And once you put up one video a day. Today, someone asked me this question. Today, Dane asks, how can enterprise B2B company, or how can mid-market B2B companies be using video for GEO? And then you answer the question. This goes back to a book that Marcus Sheridan published, I think about 10 years ago now, which is so good you don't have to read it. The title of the book was, They Ask, You Answer. Like, that's it. You don't need to read the rest of the book. I mean, buy it to support Marcus, but you don't need to read the rest of that book. That is your strategy. If you are any brand, look at all the questions you're asked, get out the video device that you have, and answer the questions.
So then how do we, if we go about doing that, and if it's impossible to know how we're going to show up in AI search, how do we measure the effectiveness of what we're doing? Are we just taking it on faith that this is best practices, eat your vegetables, it'll work eventually?
No. The gold standard for measuring AI visibility is this. On your points of intake, your contact form, your call center, your email box, or whatever, there's a little box that says, how did you hear about us? Let it be a free form text field. Don't give people a drop down. Just a little free form text field. And then using the AI of your choice, analyze the results every month. And if the number of people who said, oh, ChatGPT or Google or whatever, if the answer is 0, then your GEO strategy is not working. But you should start to see Claude and ChatGPT and Alibaba Quen and DeepSeek and Google as referral sources. And if you let people physically type or voice dictate into that, you will get more insight into how they're doing it. 11% of Trust Insights business comes from AI referrals now. That was as of the last 6 months. It is astonishingly high.
So do you have a sense of, like, for the companies that are like, yes, we want to do more with video, but like, I can't get my subject matter experts on camera. They don't have time. Is there some sort of like data-based argument we can put in front of them to be like, hey, I know you don't want to go to the dentist, but you're going to have 30% less cavities if you do? Or, is there something we can point to about why you should do this?
Other than the obvious, which is this is literally how AI models. Feel free to send them this interview.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry.
But that's fundamentally, we know where Google gets its data from, and now with a lot of these new revelations about how Google in particular with AI mode and stuff is getting its answers, it comes from things in Google properties. So you should be sending people with their permission email. And guess what? When you put a YouTube link in an email, I'm sure you've seen this in Gmail, what does it show at the bottom of the email? A link to the YouTube video with a preview of it, which of course it's pulling from YouTube's metadata because Google owns it. When you look at that third-party AI training thing in Google, guess which company isn't listed there in YouTube? Google, you can't opt out of it. There's no way to opt out of it because Google uses that as training data. When you look at inside Gemini in AI Studio, where Google's grounding sources come from, guess what? YouTube's in there. You look in the Vertex APIs, which is Google's enterprise search system. Guess what's in there? YouTube's in there. So there's a lot of different contact points where you can illustrate. Here we know Google is getting its data from YouTube, which is, by the way, the second largest search engine on the planet, and is where people go to things like, how do I fix this leaking faucet? Right? How do I do this? How do I do that? I guarantee you, if you are any company of any kind, someone is answering those questions, because that's exactly what a searcher on YouTube is going to type in. How do I connect my QuickBooks to my CRM? Right? Someone is answering the question. If that's what your company does, and you didn't make that video, you're not in the game.
Yeah. So then let's talk about how much can we say video is a part of that game? So let's say I've got $1 million to invest in content. How much of that should I put towards video, and how much should I put that towards writing and AI tools and other stuff? Like, is there a way to think about that, like high level? How many wheels of the car is that?
Video. Well, here's the thing about video, and the thing that makes video important. Video is the highest density information source. If I sit down and as I do, like when I make my videos, I make my daily videos in batches. I make them typically batches of 10 to 20. On Sunday, what I do is I take my phone, which has a little magnetic backing, I stick it to my refrigerator, I clip on a little lav mic, and as I'm cooking the Sunday meal, I just answer piles of questions. When I do that, I'm creating a lot of very rich data. So that goes on YouTube. But I can also, and I use a tool like FFmpeg to rip the audio track out of that. And guess what? That goes up as a podcast. I put the audio track into Parakeet MLX, which transcribes it. And guess what? There's a blog post, right? And then the compendium of those blog posts is what I put into a Claude code to say, okay, assemble a book out of this. You have to use all my original words, but assemble a book out of this. So it's not AI slop. It's literally my words, just resequenced better. I can take that transcript and I can put it into this, like a Claude Cowork or whatever, and say, okay, you have 1,200 words, because that's the length of a LinkedIn post. Turn this into a LinkedIn post, and so on and so forth. So if you start with video, if you put like half your budget into video production at velocity, you will create so much stuff that you can then spin into other formats without having to reinvent the wheel constantly. Now, the key here is velocity, is volume. It is tempting, and there is a time and place for like super high quality polished video. You do a formal shoot. Like, for example, I'm a professional speaker. I do a lot of keynote talks. There is 100% a place for someone with a red camera to be doing a polished speaker reel for me. But for your day-to-day video, this is good enough. The camera on this thing is good enough for that. And in fact, in some algorithms like Instagram, believe it or not, the crappy video they have a problem with a lot of AI slop, and so they're starting to tune their algorithm to focus more on quote authentic video, like as if AI can't generate that too. But if you want to produce at scale, you have to, that should be your focus, not just high quality, but good, useful content with high velocity, with high frequency.
That's great advice. Well, Christopher, thank you so much for your insights today. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me.